cancel message 2. Just I given that. When user clicks on cancel message 2, second message should be cancelled. That means second message should be removed from the memory. They will be loaded into memory, but before the execution, you can remove it from the memory. So here, all these three functions are loaded into memory. But we have to access the memory location in order to cancel from the memory. That is the reason. So we need to define this with memory location. Memory location means, so set timeout, what is the purpose? It will load message 1 into memory. Now how to access that memory where it is loaded? For that it need a memory reference. That means we can declare a variable. And in this variable, so we can msg1 is equal to, we can load this into memory. That means set timeout loads the message into memory. That memory you can access by using msg1. That is the memory reference. But the problem is you declared a variable inside the body section, inside the body load. It is accessible only inside it. So that means this var is function scope. It allows you to access only within this. But we have to access on button click. That means, so on click, button on click, cancel message. That is the function. And I am writing that function. So cancel message. Cancel message is the function. Now here I need to access that memory. We cannot access because it is function scope. Now already we discussed, if you remembered, tell me how to declare a global variable inside a function. How to declare a global variable inside a function? Tell me how to declare a global variable inside a function. We can declare a global variable inside a function. Yeah, good. So by using window keyword, am I right? That means we have to use window.msg1. Similarly, so window.msg2 is equal to, we don't need all of them, only the message you want to cancel you can keep it. So I'm just declaring window.msg3. Now you can access this msg1 2 3 outside that function. I am clear interval. We have to use clear timeout. So set timeout is cancelled by using clear timeout. Clear timeout, which one? MSG2. It should be cleared. That means when cancel message function is called, it will clear this message to from memory. Remember, this will happen only when you click cancel button. Observe carefully. I will start it. Hello. I am not clicking cancel button. Then second message will come. After that, third message will come. So because I am not cancelling, just for your understanding sake clearly, for these messages, I will add like MSG1. Okay, I will add like MSG2. Okay, so MSG3, just for understanding sake. Okay, now you can see first message will come, second message will come, and third message also will come. Okay, now I will refresh this and see here, first message came. Before second message, I clicked that button cancel message. Then second message is cancelled. Directly third message will come. Observe carefully. After the first message, I clicked cancel message. Second message is cancelled. That means third message will come directly. So it will get the third message. Second message you can't see. If I don't click that cancel button, so it is working fine. All the messages will be called. You can clear anything from the memory. Just you have to use the function called clear timeout. Clear timeout. So set timeout and clear timeout. But in order to clear timeout, so first you have to load that timeout into a memory reference, and from there you can access and use it. You can cancel all of them. It's your wish, right? So, but at a time, clear timeout can clear only one. If you want to cancel multiple, you have to write multiple times. So the timeout function will lock your task and keep it in the memory for a specific time and release it from the memory after the time. So that is generally the purpose of the timeout function. And whenever you want, you can cancel it. So this is one example of how we can set timeout and how we can clear timeout. Set timeout and clear timeout. Just I will give example here. So this is an example for set and clear timeouts. Yeah, this is an example for set and clear timeout, how we can manage them. Now, timeout, one important point you should know is timeout is actually, suppose we have task. So we have task. That means here task is nothing but function. Now we have memory. And we have process. So we have process. Now we have the process. Okay. Generally what is happening? So this task is loaded into memory. So that means task is loaded into memory. And after loading into memory, after 3 seconds or 5 seconds, this task is sent into process. After the task is sent into process, remember, when task is sent into process from memory, remember, it is cleared from the memory and sent to process. And after the process is finished, it will come out. If you want the task again, then what we have to do? If you want the task again, what we have to do? If you want the task again, what we have to do? Tell me. If we want the task again, what we have to do is, we have to load this task again into memory. Am I right? Am I right? That means we have to load the task into memory again. That means, is the task present in the memory after it is sent into process? Is the task present in memory after sent into the process? Is the task sent into memory, right? No, it is not in the memory. So how many times task will execute? Every task will execute only one time. Good. Task will execute only one time. But we have another technique. Called set interval. Set interval, if I keep the task, then what happens is, this task is loaded into memory. And important, from the memory, it is given to the process after 2 seconds. But it is not cleared from the memory. It is still present in the memory. And after the task finished the process, again after 2 seconds, again it is sent into the process. Understood? From the memory, that means every 2 seconds it will execute. Understood? So what is difference between interval and timeout? What is difference between interval and timeout? Timeout will execute the task only once. Am I right? Huh? Timeout will execute the task once. Interval will repeat. Interval will repeat. Until what time it will repeat? Until it will repeat until it is removed from the memory. Understood? It will repeat until it is removed from the memory. That means every 2 seconds it will repeat. Every 2 seconds it will repeat. But until it is present in the memory, once you clean from the memory, it is done. It is no longer available. So what is difference between timeout and interval? Interval can perform the task. Interval can perform the task. Interval can perform the task continuously. So every few seconds it will execute. Timeout will perform only once. Interval will perform the task continuously. That's what actually the concept of interval. Let's see how this happens actually, how interval works. Set interval, clear interval. For example, I will say, suppose here clock HTML. So here I am defining doc type HTML head and title as clock. Okay. And in the body section, just I keep a div. So, and in the div, I have an ID as time. Okay. And here I'm just adding some style for the div. So we have defined some border as 2 pixels solid and dark sea and something like this. And so some, yeah, or so here text align is equal to center. So padding is 20 pixel. So or 10 pixel padding. And font face, a font family sans serif. So font family sans serif and font size some 30 pixel. Okay. And it is like font weight as bold. Okay. That is general div appearance we have given for that. And now inside this, here what we are doing is we are writing body on load. On load is equal to body load. So on body load, we are writing a function in the script. So the function, so body load, on body load, we are defining here. So where, so some time, how to get the time? So is equal to new date. So you current time, I need to get the time. So and store that. So that means here I will say simply like now. Okay. In that we have to get only time. So time is equal to now dot. So to local time string that is used to get the time. And I need to display that get element by ID. Time is the div dot inner HTML. I want to display that time. Okay. So now you can see that when the body loads, the time will be displayed here. But time is not changing. You see, this is not changing. Seconds not changing because at the time of loading, what time is there, it will display. I will refresh this and you can see that. So when I refresh or reload, at the time it loads, what time is there, it will display. I will click on refresh. It will refresh and display the time, but it will be only at load time. Now what we do is here. So here, this entire functionality, I defined in a function. I am writing a function. So get time. And in the function, we are writing all this. In the function, we are writing all this. And we are calling that get time here. But this time, what I am doing is I'm using set interval function. Through set interval, I am accessing that get time function. So get time is the function. And I want this to execute at every second, 1000 milliseconds. What set interval will do is it will load this function into memory and send into process after 1 second. After sending into process, it is not removed from the memory, it is still in the memory. Then it will be sent again after 1 second. It will repeat. That means now see what will happen. Now the time is continuously changing. The time is continuously ticking here. Actually, it is executing the task every second actually. It is executing the task every second. That's how we use timers. So that means every second it is executing it. Now, if you want, you can remove it from the memory and load it again from the memory into the memory. Suppose just what I am doing here is here below this, I will use so another div. So div, and in that we have a button. So button as pause. So pause time, or say stop. I'm defining that stop. And here I defined another button as start. And the stop on click is equal to stop time. Okay. And the start on click start time. So that is the option defined. Now we need to access this from the memory. So we need to declare so window dot window dot some variable. So window dot t is equal to that value. So in the memory, this is loaded and which you can access by using this. Suppose I say clock. By using window dot clock, I can access that. So now I'm defining here the function. So function is when start time click, stop time click, time, stop time click. What should happen? When stop time click, what should happen? We have to say clear interval, clear interval. So it should clear clock. Clock should be cleared. Clear interval clock. So that will stop. And a function start time. When start time, again body load should be called because on body load, we are calling the time again. We are loading the time again. So that means now see what happens. So you have start and stop buttons. I click on stop button. I click on stop button. You can see that time stops. Timer stops. I click on start button. Remember, it will not start from 2. Why? Because it is system time. It is not a stop clock. It is system time. That means when you click start, at that time, what system time is there, it will get that system time and use it. So don't think that it is pausing the time and it is resuming the time. So it is not, because it is system clock. In the system clock, at that time, what time is there, it will display. It's not like you are incrementing a number. This is pulling the date time from there and displaying it. It's not a stop clock like. So it is just a system time. So when I click stop, it will stop at 52. It will stop at 52. So here what we have to do is, so we need to define, so start, we need to configure the start. Yeah, so that is point here is meta element have reload. Yes, good, you have that good point. But what meta reload will do? What meta has reload? Meta can reload the page. What it will do? What it will do? Generally, meta has reload. every second page can reload. What it will do? It will reload the page. Why you are reloading entire page? Understood? Right. So why you are reloading entire page? So you have to execute only this area, na? Am I right? Yeah. So that is not required and that is not recommended. Why not recommended? Because why you are reloading entire page for only time? So that means every time, every second page will reload. That is completely wrong, right? It should not reload every second, right? So here we have to reload only this part. That's what actually we need to do. Technically, the point here is when I say start, then it will start from that particular point. That means where it has stopped, current time it will display. So difference between interval and timeout is that it will continue so for every few seconds in the memory. This is what generally we apply everywhere regularly. This is what generally we apply everywhere regularly. So we use this in various animations, various functions we use this. For example, let's create one simple example to understand. This is a general example. Let's create one example for that. This is another example for interval. Set interval. Interval. For set interval, this is another example. Let's see another one. Let's see another one. So let's create one simple example for this. Suppose I am creating like slideshow.html. Okay. So here we have some images already. So yeah, fine. So let's create some design into this now. Okay. Doc type HTML head and title and slideshow something. And here I am defining the basic approach. I am writing a simple logic here. So first we will link relation is equal to style sheet and href is equal to so dot slash node modules bootstrap this css bootstrap dot css, and I will link relation is equal to style sheet and href. So we have dot slash fonts slash in that css all dot css. Okay. And in the body section, so we are adding a simple design container fluid. Okay, fine. And here I will just design a div and a class as card. So okay, this is the card we are designing, and we have a div and a class as card header. Okay, card header. In that we have a heading and ID as LBL name. Okay. And below this, we will put a div. We put the class as card body. And here we have an image. SRC is equal to image ID as pic. And width is some 90%. And height is equal to some 300 or 400. Okay, fine. That is the image here. So text center. And header also keep it text center. Okay, and below this, so we have a div. So class as card body footer, and in this we have a button. And let's keep the class as a button. So btn and btn outline. So some danger. Okay. So we have buttons here, and this button is having a span, so class is equal to fa pause, right? This is the pause. So or say fa play, okay, play. So and this is having a span, so class fa pause. So these are the options defined inside it, right? Right. Yeah. BTN. Right. Yeah. Yes. So now this is the design for the content here. So we have the design for the page. The content is in this way. Pause and play, and the footer also. Let's keep this also text center. Okay, that is the option. Now we have this image. Okay, this is, we have a play and pause buttons here, and we have an image. So and at the header is there. So now we want to create a simple slideshow like. So we want to create a simple slideshow like. So we want to view a simple slideshow. Uh, every few seconds the picture should change. That's what we want to do. Usually to handle that, so generally what you can do now, so we have on click is this is play click, okay, and on click this is pause click. These are the functions. Now here first we will write a script. Okay, in this we will create so an array called, suppose, products. The products array contains the product name JBL speaker. Okay, and it contains photo. So photo is dot slash images speaker.jpg. Okay, same, I will keep some images. So some details. So say earpods, and suppose say Nike casuals, and say some Lee boots, and so like some fashion, so shirt. Okay, so these are the options we have defined, and here we will change earpods, so shoe and shoe one, and here I have some shirt. Okay, now this is a collection. So products is a collection of name and photo. Okay, so now I need to write a function. I need to write a function. So uh, get image or display image, and this display image function. So have to get that image. So and the name and the display. So inside these locations, that means we need one is LBL name, where LBL name is equal to get element by ID LBL name. That is the name. And pick is equal to get element by ID pick. Okay. These two are required here. And we need to define here one more option now. The concept here is just what we are doing is initially display image, have to display the image. So it should display the image. That means which image to display. So we have to pass the index number. That means image index should be passed. So then I need to get that, so and display here. So that means actually display image. So we have to pass the index. The image index means actually it is product index actually. So now important is we have to use that So here lbl name dot inner html, it is a heading. We have to get it from products array. Products array. In the products array, we will pass the product index. Product index, through that we will access name. And pic.src, picture source. It will come from same products array. In that, pass the product index dot photo, access the photo. That means display image is a function. Display image is a function which is expecting the product index number. So what we will do is initially when body loads, so body on load is equal to body load. On body load, here we will write a function body load. On body load, we will call this display image, and we will pass the product index into it. Product index is 0. I am passing 0 because it is expecting index number. That means now when I pass 0, so that means the product index is 0 now. Products of 0 dot name, products of 0 dot photo. That means the first image related details will come and display. First image details will come and display. That's how it is displaying. So here I am just shrinking this to 60%. So it will be in this way. So it is accessing that and displaying that here. Okay. It is accessing and displaying here. Now when I click on play button, when I click on this play button, now it should start slideshow and it should display every few seconds. It should display every few seconds. That means every few seconds, the image should change. Every few seconds, the image should change. So for every few seconds, it is keep on changing, that we have to maintain that. So generally, what we need to do now is on play click. On play click, so we need to change that image. So proceed to second one. And it is also good to display the status. Just below this heading, I will add a paragraph and the paragraph ID is MSG. Okay. So why this is because we want to display the status also. So status is MSG dot inner HTML. That means on body load, we are displaying a message as so click play or say simply a slideshow. So slideshow. So paused, something like this, or say slideshow. Click play for slideshow. That will be better, right? First, initially, just click play to start. Click play to start. Okay. So that is the simple message I am giving. Click play to start. That means what happens is initially, so it will display that click play to start below it. Okay, when I click on that means now it should start changing the image. Every few seconds it should change. So it should change every few seconds, right? It should change. In that case, so what we can do is, so for every few seconds to change here, so we will write the function for play click. That means function play click. Okay. On play click, what should happen? I will declare a variable called count. It is initially 0. On play click, count should be increased by 1. Count plus plus. That means it will be increased by 1. Count is equal to count plus 1. So it is increased by 1. After that, so how to learn correctly, I will show you. Means so how we can manage. So some issues will be there. You need to correctly manage them. We will see that. Now what we can do is here we can just define an option set interval. Set interval. Set interval. We are calling the function called display image. Display image. But actually this display image is expecting, it is expecting index number. In that case, so here you cannot pass the parameter now. It is expecting index number. Suppose I am passing that count here, count. And I am saying that every 4 seconds execute that. Every 4 seconds execute. Now what happens is, so I click on the play button. So I click on the play button here. So you can observe that it is executing it immediately, not every 4 seconds. And after 4 seconds, you can see it is not changing. I click on the play button, it is going to next image. That means it is not working. It is not working auto. That means it is not changing every few seconds. So generally, when you are designing so such options, you will have these kind of issues. Regularly, these kind of issues will come. That is the reason you have to learn correctly, logically, how you can place the contents, how you can configure the contents, how you can place the contents perfectly. Where to write the logic, how do we configure the logic? If you miss that, then it is unable to handle that functionality. So that is very, so we need to understand that approach actually. So that means change image. So should not contain. So it is containing index number. It is accessing the index. So we are passing that. And very important is time interval. Where to set the time interval is, so we need to configure the time interval in a separate function again, in a separate function. I will tell you. So that means how do we manage this correctly? How do we manage this correctly? So let's see. So first, this is okay. That means, so this is accessing the index number and it is displaying that index number related details. That is good. It is working fine. There is no issue in that. Accessing and displaying in that. Now what we do is we will create another function. So function called slideshow. So what this slideshow function have to do is it has to so take the count. So where count is equal to 0 is equal to 0. And here, so it should count plus plus increment. And so it should use the show image. So display image into that it should pass the count. So fine. And very important is, so I want to display the value also, we can display later. What is this slideshow function is doing? It is incrementing the value of count and it is sending that value into display image. So that means whenever slideshow is called, count will be increased by 1 and that count will be passed into this display image. That means this slideshow function is incrementing the count and passing the count into the display image. Now on play click, you have to call this slideshow function. On play click, what we will do is we will simply put here, suppose window dot show. So use set interval, and we will call slideshow function. And every 5 seconds it will be called. What slideshow function will do? Slideshow function will increase count by 1 every 5 seconds. It will increase count by 1 every 5 seconds and it will pass that count into display image. So you should not directly call that display image and pass the parameter. So it will not allow, because remember, set interval is not calling the function, it is pointing towards the function. Because I told you event means pointing towards the function. So if it is pointing towards the function, you cannot pass parameters here. You have to just define function name, only function name. So it will point towards that function, and that function has to collect your value and display it. This is the approach we have to do. And what I will do is, here I will put a message, document dot get element by id msg dot inner html. I will keep here inner html as a slideshow started. This message should come, slideshow started. And when user pause click will happen, that means function pause click. When pause click, what should happen? So we have to simply use clear interval. So show function should be cleared from the memory. And the document dot get element by id msg dot inner html is equal to, it's a slideshow paused. I have to display the message paused, slideshow paused. This message should come. And now you can see that here I click on the play button, then it says slideshow started. And you can see every 5 seconds, the image will be changing. The title and the image is changing every 5 seconds. I click on pause button, and it says slideshow paused. You can see slideshow is paused. It is not going to the next image. Now very important, again when I click on the play button, it will again start the slideshow from that particular slide. It will go to the next slide and it will display. And one problem is, after showing the last slide, this will be continuing. After the last slide, it will be continuing. So we should not make it continue. We can repeat it. We can rotate it. We can repeat it. With the logic, we can do that. So I click on it started. After 5 seconds, there is nothing to rotate. That means the next image is not coming. You see the debugger. When I inspect here, in the console, you can see error is coming. See, every 5 seconds, error is coming. That is not good. Every 5 seconds, why error is coming? Every 5 seconds? Why? Because actually it is incrementing, go on incrementing and showing next increment happening. Because so here you can observe that you simply say that every 5 seconds. So, and when it will stop only when it is clicked with pause. So that means, because here we have only 5 images, then obviously you have to write the logic. How do we write the logic? Generally, that depends on your requirement. That means what should happen is, so when count is defined, that means here we are writing the count, incrementing of count and displaying the count. We can write several conditions here. Conditions are nothing but, if count is greater than, that means here we are writing a condition. If count is greater than, so greater than, count is greater than or equal to, so products dot length, that means total number of elements inside it, is equal to, then again, so what should happen here? So the count will be again set to 0. Else what will happen? Else count will be incremented by 1. So incremented by 1, and it will display that image. These kind of conditions we have to write. So it depends on how you configure it, how you define it. So that means how many elements are there. Based on that, you need to define. We can use a manual control also. This is automatic. That means we are learning how to handle this. Automatically, after every few seconds, how we can manage this. Here, lot of conditions will be there. Everything will not work fine directly. You have to manage lot of conditions here. That means here we are displaying an image and you click on play. It says slideshow started. Every 5 seconds, it has to change the images. It has to change the images. And very important is after it reaches a specific point, then again the count should be incremented, count should be defined, or it should stop there. You have to manage that according to your requirement. That means it should start again or it should stop. You have to configure according to that. So if you define this, this will be a good way of managing your logics. So that means you can see it will start again. Every few seconds it will be rotating because I given greater than or equal to the length. So based on that, it is continuing. It is continuing the slideshow. It is continuing the slideshow. So it is not showing any errors. It means it is not stopping because when it reaches the end, because I given as greater than or equal to. So if I say greater than the count, then it will be displayed only after the last one. It depends on how many elements are there inside your array. So, and based on the length, you can access and display. And when you are displaying the images, you can even set animation for these images. That means you learned a lot of CSS. You can make the image come from right. You can make the image come from top by using your CSS transitions and effects. You can manage them. By using the CSS transitions and effects, you can manage and you can handle that functionality. That depends completely on how you want to handle the requirements, right? So technically, so when you are dealing with timer events, these timer events will execute continuously. When the timer events are executing continuously, you have to make sure that you want to repeat them or stop them. Otherwise, they will continuously goes on incrementing and never stop. This leads to a lot of coding errors. So we have to avoid that. For that, we need to use simple conditions, manage. You can even say break or you can say return. It will terminate that execution after it reaches. So that means it says that this is the last slide and it will stop. It's your wish. You can configure anyway. So this is the basic how we can design. Remember, you can add anything manually also. For example, in the footer, you can see in the footer, I'm adding in the footer above the button, I will keep a div here. Above the buttons, or in the body, okay. In the body below the image. So below the image, I am adding an input type is equal to range. ID is equal to slider. And here I said min is equal to 1, some max is equal to some 4. The slider I am defining here. And you can see that. So you can see there is a slider below. You can see there is a slider below. And here I say value is equal to 1. That means it will start with 1. Now, when I move this slider, the image should change. That you can do. That is already done. Already we discussed that. When I move the slider, it should change. That means what we have to do, we have to write an event on change. So slider change. Slider change function will be called. That means what we have to do here, we have to write a function called slider change. What slider change function have to do? Slider change function have to access that display image, and into that it should pass the slider value. That means first we will use var slider value is equal to value is equal to document dot get element by id slider dot value. We are accessing the slider value and we will pass that slider value here. Slider value is passed into this here. Display image is passed with the slider value. That means usually what happens now, technically what happens here is when I am moving the slider, then you can see the image will be changing. When we are moving the slider, the image will be changing. You can change the image when we are moving the slider. It depends on how you configure that and how you define that, right? Because here usually our value of slider, so generally this value of slider starts with 0, and here it is starting minimum with 0. So that means the slider value starts with 0, and you can see now when I move this, it will get back and it will get into that image. So how many are there based on that? We can use this slider or we can use this slideshow. Now, one more option is that generally when I click on this play button, so that means slideshow started. When the image is changing, I want to change that in the slider also, I want to show it. That's also a very simple thing. That is not complicated. Why it is simple thing? Because what should happen on play button click? Generally, what should happen on play button click is the count value can be applied. The count value can be applied to that slider. That means document dot get element by ID slider dot value is equal to count. Count value is applied to slider. So if count value is applied to slider, what will happen is you can see that when I click on the play button, you can see that. So the slider also should change its functionality. And very important is because this changing is not happening inside this. This changing is not happening inside this because every second it should change. Then we have to keep that. We have to keep that in this slideshow. That means every few seconds it is using. That means we have to keep that inside this. That means a set interval. So where is that set interval? Yeah. Now here into the set slideshow, into the slideshow function, we have to keep that and display here. So we need to keep that and display here. That means every second count will be incremented and that value will be applied here. That value will be applied here. That depends on just your requirement. So that looks good. Why? Because now what happens is when user clicks on the play button, that means that the slider also will be showing the changing the value. You see slider also moving along with the image. Slider also moves along with the image. It moves along with the image. And I click on pause, it is paused, and I move the slider back, then it will change, it will go back now. You can see that. That means we can adjust manually or we can adjust automatically. We can have both functionalities. So I click on play, that means it started playing from that particular slide. And suddenly after, so here, after I say pause, then it will pause to that location. I can go back and I can move into that specific. It just depends on how you want to manage. So this kind of things you can design also by using the timer events. So this is generally a simple example of understanding another option, how actually you saw carousel. Carousel works with this kind of approach only. So it is designed by using timer events, timer functions. And if you can add animation for your images, like slide from right, slide from left, that will be more easy for you and it looks more great, right? Several more designs we can do by using these timer events in different occasions. We will see that. So this is all about working with the events in JavaScript, different types of events, how we can manage them. And these are the examples for the timer events. Now, once you know these timer events, now we can go into another concept. These are all about the events. Now we can go into the JavaScript, object-oriented programming in JavaScript. With that, we can finish JavaScript and we can go into jQuery, how to handle. That we will see in the next session, right? So in the next session, we can start working with JavaScript object-oriented programming. Okay. And next session, tomorrow we don't have session. So tomorrow off. So, and again, our next session will be on Monday. Okay, right.